For years, I really wondered, I struggled with seeing other bands come in when I was playing in my original band who were using, at a minimum, a click track. And, you know, to keep everybody going, because if you've got a fancy intro or just cool like synths and things in the background, I mean, these guys have been doing it for years. But I just, like I said, I really overcomplicated things. And it wasn't until I started playing in this other project here, it's called Metal Church, I've mentioned it before. On that side of the house, this is very common. You've got worship leaders, you've got, that's a thing. I didn't even know that was a thing, but you know, they've got worship leader class. I mean, it's kind of crazy, but anyway, that's a whole other subject. But these guys, they've been doing this stuff for years, whether it be Ableton Live, which is a really very powerful software, which you can, it's a DAW in itself or recording software, but you can bring your backing tracks in. You can also sync up lighting with that and lyrics and video and have this just monstrous show. So I talked to my friend Chris, who leads the traditional service, and he says, yeah, we use an app called Prime. And I thought, I don't want to use, I want to get right into it. I want to use Ableton and I want to be like, you know, awesome. Well, you know, it's hard enough to perform, much less try to keep track of running the show. And then what if somebody gets off on timing and it just becomes crashing down and it's this big embarrassing failure. That's where it comes in, where I got to just stop myself and say, let me start out simple. So this is a free app and it's in the App Store. It's for iOS and Mac. I would encourage you to start simple with an iPad or an iPhone. Maybe just getting your drummer to use a click and lead the band. You plan your show out, something to give that audience more entertainment and keep them coming back. And that's kind of what I'm trying to do here. So I want to get right into this and I want to show you how cool this little app is, and it's free. This Prime app is part of this ecosystem in this Loop community, and you create an account and you can purchase tracks for, you know, praise and worship. It's really geared towards that, but they work with artists and they've got this really cool community going on where they, you know, sometimes can get the actual tracks, the actual backing tracks of the artist, which is really cool. They have their own people that submit tracks, and even people like myself can become a Loop community contributor and can start writing their own stuff and actually getting paid for it. So I think that's a really cool model I'd like to see in other places. It would be nice where we start contributing our own little you know, samples, things like that. And again, just like I didn't see this app for years, there's probably something already in there. I don't know. So anyway, they were really cool and said, hey, we love anybody to use this. So I encourage you to at least download it and try messing around with it and seeing what you think. Maybe it's something you just start getting into, at least at the very minimum, a click, so you can kind of keep everybody on track. I think that's real important. Everybody develops this good meter. I just recorded 15 minutes with zero audio. I've done it before. So this is the Prime Multitrack app. It's only available on iOS and Mac. If you don't have a Mac, you know, just go find a cheap iPad or even your iPhone. The iPhone will run on it. So what I want to do is show you how I'm using it right now, and just from my perspective of just getting into all this. You know, I think that if you want to start out something very simple that you can do without, you know, because a lot of bands aren't running in-ears. I know my original band that I played with for several years, we didn't have in-ears. But I would hear other bands come in with at least the drummer would be connected to a click, and at least he was controlling the show back there doing his thing. And the rest of the band would be on traditional gear, monitors up front. So even if he just has an iPad or an iPhone, basically what he's going to do, and like I was telling you earlier, is go to the YouTube channel of the Loop community. They'll show you the ins and outs of what you can do, how you can connect to it. You can use MIDI foot switches to control, you know, go through the set. It actually can be controlled by MIDI. But at its simplicity, just have the drummer go and just go through these, what we call these set lists, and you can make these on your own. But traditionally, you got a click, you got cues. Cues, especially in a worship, you know, group, maybe these guys coming in every week, aren't practicing, they need these cues to cue them to intro, verse, and chorus, all that stuff. And it just keeps everybody in line. I thought it was really silly until I started using it, but I'd heard other bands were doing it, even just regular bands out there. And I'm like, this is their own song. How do they forget their own song? But what we have in the app is you've got this clicks and cues. These are built in. And what they do is they route these to the left channel automatically for you, so they pan them over. I think you can go in here and actually not pan them. Yeah, pan somewhere in there. Yeah, well, for some reason it's gray. But anyway, you can come in here and they're already panned left. And on the right side, your backing tracks, these stems that I've brought in. And basically what I've done is I've created my own wave files or own stems in Logic. I did it in this case, but you can do it in any DAW or however you want it in your recording software. And then I save those out into separate files, compress them, zip them all up, and then loop the software, loop cloud something, I forget, whatever. You can create your own account, and basically it looks for those zip files when you upload them, and then it will separate each one of those and try to identify the tracks, and you can name it and do whatever you want. So I took some of the default names, but I named these on my own. I also brought in the full song as a scratch track, so when we're practicing, we can reference that and go, okay, what part is that? Instead of having to get out another device, you know, if we're all on in-ears in this case, you know, you can sit there and just play the scratch track, right? And the real song. So back to what I was saying with the drummer. So the drummer's back there. You're going to have, out of your iPad or your iPhone or whatever, there's going to be a stereo out. Let's not talk about like lightning and the adapters and all that. You know what I'm saying. So basically that's a stereo out. So it's got left and right. The left side is for clicking cues, and that hooks up. You know, most sound guys are going to have a direct box, or you can bring your own. 1/8 inch out to splitter that's going to go XLR or 1/4 inch. Left will be for you in the band, and then right would be the tracks. That's going to be front of house. And then, you know, from that channel that has click and cues, he can mute that so the front of house, so that your crowd doesn't hear that. And then from there, either it goes to, you know, all your in-ears, or it, you know, in our case, we have in-ears at the church, so it'll go through those. But even if you don't have those, it'll go to the drummer maybe in one ear, or he'll have a separate feed from front of house where they can mix in the backing track so he can hear them as well with his drums and everybody else. So, but look on their website, look on their YouTube channel, they'll explain all that. So let's briefly look in here and I'll show you what I've done with this song. I couldn't find the stems for this, so I recreated them on my own, kind of the best that I could. But there's some really cool things just with this app that I'll explain here. So it brings in the track, and what happens is it doesn't have all these little sections in here. These are basically cues that you are putting in here. And this is start, intro, verse 1, chorus, intro, chorus, chorus, intro, bridge, breakdown, chorus, outro. And what that does is it cues the app to basically tell you these cues. So let's go back to this intro. So I have this intro, and I've divided this one up as well. In order to loop sections, because say maybe maybe your intro is pretty short, but somebody's having trouble with putting their in-ears in, or they're having trouble with their stuff, you can just loop these sections. But you need to at least have 2 sections that I've found out other than start. So what I've done is had my start in here, so this has a click, so it doesn't click right into it. And I'll play that, and then it goes into the intro, and then it goes right into the outro. So let me play it first to show you what it's like.
Intro, 2, 3, 4. Outro, 2, 3, 4.
There's a little flub there because I didn't put my markers correct, but if you wanted to edit that and get real crazy, then you can just edit markers, and you can come in here and you can zoom in, and you can edit your markers a little better, and you see this one's off a little bit. Within these markers here, what happens, like say let's do this, and somebody's having trouble, the drummer's back there, I give him the cue, and I say, you gotta repeat this, I give him the signal. He's gonna play this.
4.
He's gonna go down here, click repeat.
Intro, 2,
He's gonna repeat once.
3, 4.
Repeat again if I need to.
Intro, 2, 3, 4.
And then from there, it's gonna go right to the outro. So from here, by default, this is what it looks like. I'll show you this little icon over here, or this symbol. So it comes to this is default when you bring the tracks into your set list, and this is how you basically add them. You just add them in here, and it has everything from your account basically. And when you put it in there, it asks you for key and tempo, and I'll get to that in a second because it's something really cool. So once I play this symbol means it just plays and it stops. The one I'm really concerned about is this one here, and it does this fade in, or this transition into the next tune. This one here does a crossfade. It's really weird because it starts to fade in the other song, and that might be okay, but it sounds like a DJ, you know, I don't want it. And I kind of forgot what the other ones are, but their videos are great. They'll show you all that. So I'll show you, I'll come to here, and you know, if you look over at this song, there's a start here. It's not gonna play that, which is nice. It'll just go right into the intro of this. So I'm gonna play it here. Nope, let's not wait the whole time here.
4. Intro, 2, 3, 4.
Doesn't like when you go in the middle and try to play it, the click gets off there. Cool thing is, you know, if you do load this up, by default that click is gonna be just 1, and what that sounds like is this. That'll be a real hard click to, you know, have. Also, make sure when you come up here, if you come here and you don't hear the click, in the beginning I thought I needed to create my own click track in my DAW before I exported. And then I came in here and I was like, oh, what is this click dynamic? Generate click dynamically. If you just click that, it automatically puts its own click track in there, and then you can have the accent on and off. I like the digital sound, but you can go and you can, you know, put it to default, which I think it sounds like this.
Intro, 2, 3, 4.
You might think that's crazy, I can't deal with it, but if you're a drummer, you'll need to experiment the click that's going to work best for you, that you can actually follow, that doesn't get in the way of all your other frequencies. This one works well for me. You got a girl or different, like Philippe, it's got different languages. We're going to leave it at Taylor. Before I forget, the cool thing about this is you can actually drop the tempo down without hearing, it doesn't let you go too far, which is probably good, otherwise it gets really those weird artifacts. But the nice thing is, I mean, say your singer or somebody comes in and you guys are cool enough to be able to switch keys, you can drop this down and say, you know what, I can't sing it that high tonight, let's do it low here.
Intro, 2, 3, 4. Verse, 2, 3, 4.
Pretty cool there. Let's go back up to B where it was originally. You know, obviously you can jump around to different sections. I keep wanting to hit the space bar.
Chorus, 2, 3, 4.
I think I totally forgot to repeat. Well, you get the point here. If you really lay out your stuff right and you think about how the show flow is, then it can be a really cool addition to your performance. Well, like I was saying, it wasn't, you know, a full in-depth demo. Go to their YouTube channel, subscribe to them. They have some really good content about Ableton and Prime itself. So it could open up this really cool world for you where you can really get into this. Or you might just say, this sucks and I don't want to do it. I appreciate the subscribe to the channel and click the bell for the notifications when I put out new content. Anyway, you guys have a good week.